Okay, so we traced the circles. I went ahead and I drew the circles, and then I kind of erased them so that they really don't show all the way through. But what we're going to do is we're going to take our painting water, our clear water, and I'm just going to carefully just kind of follow the edge and wet it. And it looks like my brush is still has a little bit of paint in it, but that's okay, because that's kind of the color that I want to paint with anyway. But we're just going to wet it, and we don't want any puddles. So all we're trying to do is get the water on the ornament, being very careful to stay in the lines and no puddles, absolutely no puddles. Because wherever your water goes and wherever your water stops is where your paint is going to go and stop. So we're just I'm gonna kind of make this ornament kind of a little bit of a gold color. Make sure there are no puddles and make sure it's completely wet. All the way around the edge. And then I'm just gonna take some gamboge, my paint. Just gonna mix it up. A lot of water, a lot of water. And I'm just going to apply that. That's gonna be kind of a little bit of gold, and you can kind of see it's kind of puddling already. It's kind of going and doing its thing. And even though I'm going to go all the way around this and into the middle, I am putting a lot of paint on here, but I'm going to go back and I'm going to lift a little bit because it's a round ornament. So we're going to need to do some highlights using the point of the brush. And then I'm just going to wash that out. Then I'm going to dry that off a little bit. And I'm just going to lift it a little bit to where that's where we're going to kind of have a little bit of a highlight to make it a little bit more like it's reflecting. And then down here on the bottom, because this ornament's going to be red, it's going to be reflecting red. So I'm going to lift some of that too. Just some of it. You can see it's kind of left a little bit of a soft line. Just kind of lift that. And you can already see it has a little bit more of a shape to it. But what we're going to do is we're going to make a little bit of a kind of a deeper brown color. Just going to make up my own little brownish color. Using the Science of Color theme. Red, yellow, there we go, brown. And we're going to very carefully just kind of go around the outer edge, because the outer edge is where it's going to be darker. And you see I'm barely touching it. I'm really just barely touching it. I'm just going around it. Just to give it some highlights. And I'm just going to go in and kind of pull that in a little bit. Just to give it some depth. And I'm even going to maybe use a little bit of yellow just to kind of lighten it up a little bit. Give it a little bit of a gold color. There we go. All right, I'm going to let that dry. And then we're going to move over to the other ornament. Now if you can see that I left just a little bit of a line right here so that it's not touching. So when we go do the red, it's really not going to touch it. I could probably wait until that dries all the way. Give it some time. As a matter of fact, I can even like use a little bit of red just to give it a little bit more color. See how it's nice and it's bleeding in, which gives it a really nice round color shape, because it's going to be reflecting off of the other ornament. Just very, very, very lightly. You don't need a whole lot. The paint's the water is taking it where it needs to go. It's kind of nice how it's kind of veining up a little bit. I like that. All right, so we're just gonna let that dry a little bit. We'll come back and do a little bit more dark here along the bottom when it dries to give it a little bit more shadow, to give us more of a round color. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do the other ornament. And again, we're going to very lightly wet it. There's the clean water. Being very careful to stay away from the other edge. That is definitely wet. Very carefully. And you want it to be just a little bit of a sheen. You don't want it to be puddled anywhere. You just definitely want it to have like a little bit of a sheen to it. Staying away from the edge that's wet. All right, that should be good. Let's just make sure. All right, so we're just gonna use a little bit of red. Isn't that nice? That's a festive color. I don't have to worry about working too fast or even too slow, because the water is gonna let it keep moving. I'm just going to go around it like that. Kind of up to the edge to kind of hide my pencil marks. As you see, I'm using a pointy brush. Go. There we go. And again, let's go ahead and lift some of this off because of the reflection. A little bit of white. Give it that reflection. I'm just going to darken that just a little bit. I'm going to go around it and give it a nice edge all the way around it. A little bit more shadow along the bottom. And definitely a little bit of shadow on the top. You can see I'm not using a whole lot of paint. I mean, there's just, if you use a really good quality paint, you don't need a whole lot of color paint on it. It really just goes a long way. Okay, so then I'm gonna wait for this to dry, and then we'll come back through and we'll put a little bit of red to do a little bit of reflection. And we're just gonna keep going along with this to make it a little bit more red. Pinkish, reddish. making sure that I give it room to have a little bit of reflection. Darken up the side just a little bit, give it a little bit of shadow. Looks like we probably need definitely a shadow on the top because there is another ornament up there. So surely there's a shadow from the other ornament. Good. To give it a little bit more of a 3D color, 3D feeling. All right, so we're gonna let that dry and then we'll come back and add a little bit more depth to it. And then we'll add the ornament top where we are hanging it on the tree. All right, we'll be back when it dries.